Good afternoon. My name is Scott Redler, Chief Strategic Officer at T3Live.com, and welcome to today's recap and look ahead. It is Tuesday, and we've had 2 days in the fourth quarter. So far, market's been a little bit of a wet blanket, right? Yesterday we started gap down, and we're down a certain amount, came off lows. Today, market was very twitchy. It was definitely a little, just felt like something was off, right? You had the ECB news that they might be tapering, and that means less accommodation, and boom. The pattern that I've been showing you in the miners and the metals wound up triggering fast to the downside. The good thing is that I think the entire community was well away from this trade, just a matter of whether or not you were short, because the signals were there to be short and definitely not long. So let's get into that first. So first, let's go to, if you go to the chart, here, you know what, this is the S&P cash. Let's do this first. S&P cash, I think it's, it's getting a little, what's the word? Vulnerable again. Okay. Here is obviously your your little V bottom after the Brexit. Here was your break of the summer range that retested the prior resistance area that turns into support, and now some I don't really see it yet, but some are saying that this is a bit of a head and shoulders top pattern also, where a little bit of a rounding top. You now have like an ascending little channel here where if we were to break this, at least you get an air pocket to here, which could be fast, and then maybe even more, maybe even the 200-day. We are in the beginning of October. You have 2 days of new funds, and we couldn't even rally. So to me, I think, not saying you could still be in some stocks that you like, but we talk about when you're above the 8 and 21-day like here. Remember the post-Brexit move held here, nice trend, held it again, continued and then broke. Well, now, we're below the 8 and 21-day. So to me, it's a little wishy-washy. So we'll see what happens next. So I think you can be light. Have some longs and shorts in individual names, but as far as being in the spiders or in the S&P cash, I just don't see it. And risk can happen a little fast here. So let's go to the GDX. I've been talking about this for a while. Oh, look at that. You still actually have the head and shoulders top formation I drew in the morning call. I don't know if it was the morning call express or the morning call long version, but last time I posted a chart was when it broke the intermediate trend. Look at that. Broke the intermediate trend. Here is where it broke the accelerated trend. Here's where it got below the 8 and 21-day. Here's where it broke the 50-day. And I do remember we played an oversold bounce, a small one. Boom. It was a fast one, but look where it came down from. Okay, then another bounce with a little bit of a red dog reversal. And then the next bounce was so much weaker that it gave some people conviction to put, to hold this short or buy some puts, and then pow, right to where we drew the line at the 200-day. The real measured move, though, if you do it from like 30 down to 26, is about 4 points. So from 25 or 21, you're talking a move probably below the 200-day all the way down to here. So I wouldn't be in a rush. Tomorrow, maybe we get a little, red dog reversal, or maybe it opens red and goes green for a tactical trade. But all in all, at least, during this trade, I remember we had that little pain trade where people were trying to buy a dip before it actually broke. This time, I don't think anyone got caught, thank goodness. And some people actually made, some decent money because, again, look how we closed below the 8 and 21-day here. So if you're out of a name when it's below the 8 and 21-day, like it was these two sessions, you don't get caught in a gap and go to the downside, especially when you have a head and shoulders top pattern staring at you. And as far as the GLD, what signals could you have had there? Well, look at this. Also, first of all, here is we've drawn this channel so many times, and look how here, rallied into the 8 and 21-day below the 50-day and stayed below it. You do not stay in this as a momentum trader when you're below the moving averages. It's just not a momentum trade. It means it's losing momentum, and it was curling down. And then boom. And now this filled the gap. Guys like, oh, can we buy the dip? Can we play it? It's the painful already. I'm like, it's not painful. It's just even filled the gap. And now it's at the 200-day. So why don't you wait at least till the 200-day? So we'll see what happens tomorrow if there's more downside. Some guys are really short overnight. That's up to you. Hopefully you have a good mark from the day. When do we like to be in names? When they're above the 8-day. Look at that. Above the 21-day. Okay, then a little corrective phase. Did it again. Below it before a gap up that reignited a new trend. And then here, now look at this. This whole channel is basically trapped, right? Big gap up. People have been accumulating this for 5 months. Big gap down. All these people are now trapped saying, oh my God, what do I do next? Hopefully that's not you. And if you watch my videos, it's not you. So we shall see. So Anyway, when someone says, how did this happen? Okay, reading the technical tea leaves, you could have seen a lot of this start to develop. And whether it happened when you wanted it to happen or happened when you didn't know, like, because nothing's going to happen exactly when you expect it. But, you could almost sense when it is. But there are always signals on which side of the market you could be on. So now let's go into stocks, okay? Apple took off fast and gave you a bit of a topping tail. I am not long Apple overnight. I thought maybe it could break above this. It's not game over here, but I hate when it does a topping tail. If it was healthier, it would have closed on the highs and maybe continued instead. You have a topping tail, which means they use this for distribution, and we'll see what's next. So, I was long Apple overnight. I added to it, and, at the end of the day, I'm like, I'm just going to wait. It's still fine. It's still above the 21-day. Tomorrow we can gap up. It could trap everyone. I don't know. But for me, topping tail like that, I get out of the way. Google had its event day. Stock's been very wishy-washy. I guess it looks a tiny bit better than it doesn't really, actually. But anyway, looks like a lot of nice new hardware products. You might get some analysts coming out on it, either positive or negative. At this point, I tried it once today, and I didn't take it overnight. At some point, maybe if it wants to really ignite above this, we'll see it and we'll go with it. But for now, I would just avoid. Netflix gave you a dollar upside, gave you a little follow through to yesterday's strength, and now, you're gonna have to wait and see. So what do I mean by follow through? We talked about where to be a buyer. It was a buyer yesterday when it cleared this 130. Gave you actually a push, and now you have a little red dog reversal where it traded above it, squeezed some shorts, came back in, and now we'll see what holds here. Maybe tomorrow, you get some kind of buy on the pullback into the mid-range of this, and so we'll see where we are tomorrow. But all in all, nice 2-day trade, a little bit of follow through today. Now you need some time. Tesla, it's going to take some time to build. It did hold yesterday's gap up. What was that? That was like 208. A little bit more time, let this hold, and then if this is going to be a real trade, you can be patient. If it's going to be something that gets back in play, it'll prove itself. Here's your downtrend. Holding the gap for a few more sessions would prove that there is momentum back here, even though it's below all the moving averages, so give it some time for that. Amazon still best in breed, took the day off. Last real trade or last strategy was, you guys know where that is. You read my note. It was here when it traded and cleared this spot, and now, big wide range bar like this, that would have gotten me at least, a little less. And I guess you'll see. I'd rather see you wait and buy the 8-day, but we'll see. BABA, was pretty weak compared to other Chinese names today. Still, in perspective, what does that mean? Doesn't mean that much. We had a lot of great strategies here after earnings. Right here was a great strategy. Well, what's going on here? Oh, sorry. These little lines are popping up. Let's get rid of them. Okay, here. This was a nice strategy here when it cleared that. Then it, remember, retested here. Starter stepped all the way up, and now, it's kind of building this lower level. So, and I would just be a little careful because, it could break this to the downside. Remember this trap on the data, whatever. So if it sees a move below this, we'll see how it handles the 21-day. But for me, I tried being long it a few times, and there was just no power, so I'm out of the way. Facebook had some problems with the marketplace. Same thing. It's not showing you to be long it. If anything, obviously it changes every few sessions where it looks good, looks bad, looks good, looks bad. Very choppy. At this point, today it looks more on the vulnerable side than the constructive side. Here, if it would have broken above this and went to the upside, great. It didn't do it. It hasn't fallen apart yet either. But I would say just be a little bit more careful because we've seen it when it's vulnerable. And if the market wants to take a little bit of a discount, this could see the 50-day. So you might as well, just be a little bit careful there. And then, listen, let's go into new issues real quick. What time is it? 4:16. I got 3 minutes to go over it. Not every new issue is created equal. And you get these moves, and then sometimes if they don't hold where you think they're going to hold, then you got to get out of the way. Let me show you why. First of all, today, ACIA finally had a bounce off the 50-day. Still no pricing yet, but this stock is hanging in there. It's the leader of this group, and maybe at some point, if they price it tight, it could break above this and continue. Okay, lots of nice trades here along the way, but look how far it came from. Okay, and then if you go through these names, remember TTD? We had a really nice trade. Really, really, really nice trade. Remember that one? Okay, it was right here. I remember it made my day. I came in long because it cleared this spot. I added when it cleared and closed at IPO highs. took home some, but on day 3 I always get a little bit careful. And then to me, if this was going to hang higher and flag to go, it should have held this spot. What did it do the next day? Okay, it wound up giving it all back, so that would have said, ooh, all right, let me get out of the way. And if you said, you know what, ACIA continued to go, Twilio continued to go, this is going to be fine, you then had to suffer through that. Okay, and that was a big down move. Okay, if this was going to hold, it should have held there. So anyway, tomorrow we'll see whether or not we get a red dog reversal around this price point to figure out if there's a trade there. That's it. Different type of trade. Here is when you thought maybe there'd be momentum and take out the post-IPO high and continue. Here is when that said, not for me. So we'll see what kind of trade we have there tomorrow. So you have to kind of be a little careful with ELF. ELF also gave you a nice trade, okay, when it broke above this area, but now it's right back in. So that means it needs time. That means it's not a momentum trade. That means you take care for now, okay. This EVBG, you know what, I've been trying to stay with it, and today I added to it, and it was a great trade, and then couldn't hold up again. I'm going to wait a little bit. It's not really a topping tail, but I'd say, you could have your stops here, or you could have used, once it couldn't hold this pivot or this pivot, that could have been your out. If you play these for momentum, you have to play them for momentum. I'm playing it for momentum. I can really speak. LN, lots of nice little pivots. For now, though, it's in a bit of a corrective mode. Okay, here's when it took out one set, okay, and then it couldn't hold here, and then gave you a little bit of a corrective phase, and then it rebuilt, went again, gave you a topping tail here, and now it's trying to hold the 8-day, but still a little weaker, so it could see the 21-day. So if you don't want to sit in this thing from maybe 47.25 down to 46, $1.25, you can get out of it, or maybe just being smaller and then see how it handles that. Remember TLND? Okay, that was good for a day. And it hasn't done anything since. This was your day. And now if you didn't get out of it, you're stuck in there. But who knows? Maybe it gets a move above this at some point. But I'm just trying to show you how things change and things are different. So to wrap things up, feels like the market is trying to shake the tree a little bit. We are still in October. We have a lot to deal with the next week or two. You still have the election. You have the vice president debate. We have earnings in 2 weeks. So they can do what they want to do. Today the S&P closed below the 8 and 21 days, so that got me flattish. A lot of new issues, some a little bit of cuts in the armor or breaks in the armor. Some names are acting better, so you want to hold some, that's fine. The metals and the miners, which you're going to hear about all night. How did this happen? You know how it happened. We've been talking about how vulnerable they've been since breaking the momentum trend, the intermediate trend, and then they all closed below the 8, 21, and 50 day. You do not stay long that as a momentum trader, and then you had the break. And even in the the miners, you had that friggin' crazy head and shoulders top pattern we've talked about for 2 weeks, and it finally triggered. So if anything, finally you had downside follow through to what the pattern was showing you versus how did this happen. So if you read the technicals and you don't follow the opinions, there's been a lot of people ranting about the miners and the metals and how you have to be in there all in, and even bonds, whatever. You know what? You could still use technicals to help guide your entries and exits because they do matter. Have a great night. I'll see you tomorrow.